There's a restaurant in Tampa. This is a very high-end restaurant in Tampa. It's called K.O. And recently, people have realized they are using the foxtail ferns from outside the restaurant to garnish the plates. So they'll put the little fern, a little strip of fern.
It's not uncommon in that world.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Many restaurants that we have been to have their own gardens.
Okay. But what people have noticed is that when the restaurant is closed, many people will walk their dog by the restaurant, and the dogs will pee on the ferns, and then they'll bring the ferns in, a little one leaf at a time, and put it on your plate. So some patrons are saying, hey,
there's dog pee.
I'm getting dog pee fern on my plate.
Yeah.
Co says this is a garnish. It's not meant to be eaten. It's just on the plate. We wash it before we put it on there. And it's only meant as decoration, so they see nothing wrong with it. I don't know. I don't think that's right.
It's bad placement, I guess, of the garden. I mean, because most of the restaurant gardens we've been to, they're behind the facility. They're not open to the public.
These are on the front, like in front of the restaurant, and it's closed. It's open for dinner, and so people walk their dogs there during the morning.
Or they're raised gardens. They're up high enough where critters can't pee.
That seems bad form.
Terribly bad.
But
why would I wouldn't want fern on my. Fern doesn't come to my mind as a garnish.
It's more of you want a little parsley or something.
It's hard to know. I mean, there are people that put flowers on as garnishes, and you can eat those.
Well, we were told that.
What are those little purple and yellow flowers?
Isn't that a law that anything that goes on a plate has to be edible?
Maybe that's right, but a fern's not edible, right? Yeah.
Some might be.
I've never heard of fern.
Maybe it is edible.
A foxtail fern is not what you're like the thing that you would see by your mailbox.
Okay, then that may be edible. A foxtail fern. Nonetheless, the dogs are using it as their potty, and some customers are.
Is this proven?
Well, no, just customers say I've seen dogs walk by there. I know they pee on this. Jim, you're talking about garnishes. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a culinary instructor at high school, and every culinarian knows that everything that's on the plate, garnish included, is designed to be edible.
That's it.
You're not supposed to put anything on the plate that is not supposed to be eaten, either as a breath freshener at the end or something like that.
There it is.
Thank you, Chef.
There it is. He knows. Chris Demm knew.
We had Kelly and I. I don't think Dave, I know Big, you weren't with the company, but Dave, you might have been. But we had a company Christmas party years ago.
Oh yes.
And we had a coworker's wife begin to eat the centerpiece.
As soon as you said edible flowers, I thought of it. We were sitting around the table.
Was she a mule?
There were beautiful flowers in the center of the table.
middle. And she said, those are edible. And we were like, ha ha. And she goes, no, seriously. And she grabbed a handful of it.
Leaving petals.
Was she drunk already?
This was the end of the meal. She may have been drinking. May have been. Even if she wasn't, though, she was dead serious about it. Because she just said, because someone commented, oh, look at those beautiful flowers.
Because they would give them away at the end of the night.
That's right. And she said, well, those are edible. And everybody's like, oh, no, come on now. Ha ha. And she goes, no, seriously. And she grabbed it and brought it over to her plate and started eating it.
I remember that.
Oh, it's different than a garnish.
That's
a centerpiece.
It's a plant in the center of the table. And her husband said, now, sweetheart,
No, we only do that at home.
She said, seriously, these are edible. She kept on putting the petals in her mouth.
Yeah,
that's not edible.
I
don't think that's edible. I don't.
Well, I mean, animals eat flower petals.
Well, and she sure did. I know that.
I don't know what it does to your gut.
She's the same one that made the rum cake that got everybody drunk one morning, or also around Christmas. Her husband worked here. He brought in the rum cake, and we had it. It was like, ugh. I mean, it tasted like 40 proof,
Yeah.
He's like, that's real rum.
She put it on top.
It was.
Don't have to tell me.
He was
the
like,
smokers were breathing fire on their smoke breaks.
Hope you're not planning on driving home. That's what he said. He had that great voice.
Isn't it supposed to be baked in?
It was real.
You don't just pour it over it.
I mean, I have never had a rum cake like that. You could taste the alcohol. The alcohol is supposed to bake out.
It was like sitting on top like a syrup.
It was syrupy.
I think there are rum cakes that you don't bake in, like when you cook it out on the.
You flambe it.
I think you put it on top of the on top of the cake, but you're not supposed to douse it.
I believe that's what
you're supposed to drizzle.
Well, that must have been part of it because it did taste alcohol. I mean, you could taste it. And he said, "I hope you're not planning to drive home." Oh, yeah, great voice. He always did.
Yeah.
That was his thing. He did a lot of commercials and stuff for us. He was the one back then saying, "This show is a joke," but the law is not. That was him back then.
I do remember the young lady that took the flowers out of the Christmas party, the flowers out of the centerpiece, and started drinking the water.
Yes.
Yes.
She had been drinking.
And then she climbed under the table with the vase.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget her.
She had been drinking. I think that was near the end for her, wasn't it?
No. She had to write an apology letter to everyone.
That's right. She wrote an apology
and eventually she did leave, but she was not a. That's what she was. She was a star.
God, took the flowers out, drank the water out of the vase.
Yeah,
and then climbed under the table with the vase.
Under the table,
and hugged it
to her chest.
I'll never forget. I was sitting with our boss at the time,
Epic,
and he just points at her as she's out on the dance floor, and he goes, "Does she work for me?" And I said, "Yes, she does, sir."
Was she Rock Paper Scissors Girl?
No, that's
different girl.
I can't play. I remember the story.
Yeah. Rock Paper Scissors Girl was also great. She was here just briefly, but she came up from behind me in the hallway one day.
I don't think you'd ever met her.
No, I never met her. And I turned around and she goes, "Are you ready? Let's go." And she put her hand down like on her other hand. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Rock, paper, scissors. Let's go. I've never lost a match. Let's go." And she beat me 2 out of 3. Rock, paper, scissors. Unbelievable. Yeah. Her acumen on rock, paper.
She was the first person, I think, that person, Rock, Paper, Scissors Girl, I remember more clearly than Vase Under Table Girl.
Yes.
Because she was the first person who was a Renaissance live action role play person.
Yeah, she was a LARPer.
She was a LARPer.
Yes. They would go out and LARP. And of course, your predecessor, Goat Boy, was a LARPer.
Yes, he was.
He liked LARPing and would come in costume sometimes. Also in his girlfriend's attire. Oftentimes he would.
Yeah, they'd get mixed
One time, Chris Demm said to him, "Those are some frilly jeans." "They're Heather's." Classic.
He'd wear her watch.
Classic Goat Boy. Wore her watch.
A lot more going on there.
He may have gotten dressed in the dark. It happens.
Classic Goat Boy. That's right.
Remember, he slept.
I should not be
He slept under a dining room table for like half a year.
Yes, he did. And loved it.
He had roommates, but not a bed.
That's right. Slept under the dining room table. Can you cut him some slack? It's happened a couple of times. There was that ill-fated fire festival that everyone's talked about for years. And then what was the Willy Wonka festival that went on where...
Was it Glasgow?
Yeah, and they had... When people got to the Willy Wonka festival, it was just like... There was no effort put into it, and people were really upset about it. Now, is this wrong? There is a small business in Las Vegas called Dirt Dog, and they were holding an event called a live Bluey event, Bluey. Bluey's a character.
Beloved cartoon character?
Cartoon character. Your niece is into Bluey?
Massive. Yeah, I mean, they love Bluey.
Yeah.
That's like the kids' show.
Is it a blue dog?
Yeah. Isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it's Australian, too.
So, yeah, I've heard of Bluey. I think my kids even enjoy Bluey.
It's giant.
Yeah. Now, what they were trying to have, this company called Dirt Dog was trying to have a fun family day, and they had costumed characters, face painting, games, some treats that were all Bluey themed. So they put it on their social media, they advertised it, but they were not prepared for the over 1,000 people that showed up. So when people got there were long lines, they had huge issues with getting people in there, and they didn't have nearly enough stuff. And they just had a guy in a beard and a blue pajamas dressed as Bluey, and all the kids were like, "Where's Bluey?" They did. But to their defense, they said, "Well, this was free, and we were just trying to, have some fun. We didn't expect this whole big thing." But one of the moms said, "Oh, no. My child was very disappointed."
The kids were distraught. Some kids were crying. Some kids were upset, crying in their parents' shoulders. It was a very upsetting moment to see so many kids, especially my daughter, just really upset.
The place, Dirt Dog, is a hot dog restaurant. So they had hot dogs and fries and a Bluey-themed day, but a lot of the kids got turned away. And even when they met Bluey, they were like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah.
So he didn't have like a cartoon head on?
No, I believe it was just some dude who painted his face
blue, and had a beard.
He even had a beard,
and pajamas.
Yeah,
basically is what he had on.
I don't know. I kind of blame the marketing team. I mean, you can't say it's a Bluey theme.
Well, it was the theme, but they just didn't.
Sounds like it's a hot dog joint that just threw something together.
They did. They threw it together.
And they got good coverage on it on Facebook.
They didn't expect thousands of people.
Don't put the dude out there and just paint his face blue.
Well,
that was a mistake.
I don't think they thought it was going to be such a hit.
Even if 10 kids showed up, it's still a nightmare to those 10.
Right.
That's not what the cartoon looks like.
You're right. They need better.
That's Nando's brother-in-law.
You got to have better than that.
You can't fool people. You can't fool kids these days.
It was like when I took our kids to see Santa once. I told you this, and for years we just went to the mall.
Santa the Marine.
Right. So my wife said, let's take them to see Santa at the Marina.
Marina
Claus. And at that point, you booked time with Santa. You had 30 minutes with Santa.
Wow.
And you went into his workshop. But when we got there, Santa was eating a lean cuisine and was on lunch break. So he was leaned over eating a lean cuisine. And, and he knew we were there. And we were there at the right time. And
I'm on break.
Right. And then my son, who was about 5 or 6, asked for something. And Santa turned to us and goes, "You can get that at Target." And we were like, Santa? The man. He's the worst Santa I've ever seen in my life. That was an awful, and we paid. It wasn't like just going to the mall. We paid for that.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, it's like, what was this? You were having a lean cuisine.
Yeah.
Walking around.
Has anyone seen my Tom Collins?
Right. It was terrible. Blogger Jen, you're talking about this Bluey event that they had at Dirt Dog. Go ahead, Blogger Jen.
Yeah, so we're huge Bluey fans in our house, but so we saw this the other day online, and the guy, he was wearing one of those weirdo adult onesie things.
That's right.
With pajamas, zip up, and then also it just had a hood that covered half of his face with Bluey's eyes or whatever. Yep. It was really weird.
Yeah. The kids were traumatized. The parents were very upset, as you could imagine. So do you cut them any slack at all just for a lot of people are saying, well, it was free. It's not that big a deal. What do you think, Blogger Jen?
I think they leave the guy in the jammies at home, but they could have Bluey cake or something.
Yeah, they could have had just decorations. You didn't even have to have Bluey. You could have a bunch of decorations and prizes and toys.
Tell the kids to come dressed as Bluey.
Yeah. Thanks, Blogger Jen.
They underestimated.
Well, and one of the employees said, "We'll do better next time."
Now knowing who Bluey is, we would have planned ahead and would have had security. There would have been more door regulations.
Yeah, I don't know who Bluey is. She didn't know the popularity of Bluey.
Yeah.
That was the whole
We'd
thing.
have been in the same situation here if we'd have taken Kelly's advice on that trunk or treat. It's not going to be anything.
I told him.
Trunk or treat?
I told him.
Utter failure.
The first one, I said, this will be
It's got disaster painted all over it. Nobody's going to come.
I said there's going to be 5 of us out there with our thumbs in the air. And what happened was 6,000 children came.
That was the first year.
That was the first year. And the second year, they said, we're going to make it bigger and better. I said, don't do a thing.
Here we go. You're not.
That's when I was hump-grumping it.
Yeah, that's really like your origin story.
That is. My trunk or treat. Trunk or treat 3 years ago.
Yeah, Mr. Steadfast.
This will be a massive failure.
Every year, it doubles in size.
Correct. That is
Despite your best efforts.
Correct. And every year I say, no.
Traffic comes to a standstill.
Don't.
Lines around the corner.
Yeah.
Don't do this is what I always say. The other, can you cut them some slack? This seems to happen every year also, and this year it was at the University of Georgia. 1,500 high school students have received this is from Georgia State University. 1,500 students received an acceptance letter from the university, and they said, that was an accident. We didn't mean to. They sent it to everybody who applied. But really, only about a tenth of those were supposed to get those.
That does happen every year.
And every year,
seems to.
The admissions department had to send a retraction and say, we apologize, and we encourage you to continue to watch your email because we may have good news from you. This was like early entry, early admittance,
Yeah.
And not everybody gets in early. And so the 1,500 who were celebrating, no, that would be so painful.
Oh,
very much
worse.
To hear you were in. I wanted to go to UNC Chapel Hill so bad I could taste it. And if they had sent me a letter saying I was in and then retracted it, that would
imagine if they had sent you that letter and you were celebrating for 48 hours.
Yeah.
I'm a Tar Heel. I'm a Tar Heel.
Oh, I would have too.
And then a truck with the school logo pulls up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a young Chris Kelly here? Right here.
Yep.
Give me that letter.
That's right. Give it back. Just ripped it up in front of me.
But how do you know after they've sent that out? And then they send out the retraction.
Yes.
How do you know if you really did get in?
Right, really.
Do they have to send somebody? Because they could send you a letter that says, look, we know we messed up once, but this is the real letter.
This is right. How do you know?
How do you know?
How do you know which ones? Now, in the old days, we got an actual physical letter in the mail. And they always used to say, well, you'll know if you got in because they give you a big packet that has forms.
If you're admitted.
If you're admitted, it forms to fill out. If you just get a little thin letter, you know it's a rejection. And mine looked like onion skin paper. It was so thin. I looked at. I was trying to thicken it up. Like maybe there's packet.
Your dad comes out. He's like, "Sorry, this was mixed in with the funnies."
Yeah.
It was an insert in the newspaper.
It's like a leaflet. It was.
This is for you.
That's all it was.
I got mixed in. Sorry.
And I mean, basically, it said
free windows.
It said, "Dear." But I remember the letter. It said, "Dear Chris, are you serious?
Yeah.
Come on, this is a joke, right? You're not coming in here."
Thanks for making us laugh over here at the Board of Admissions.
Gave the English department a real tickle. We appreciate it. Yeah, awful. What an awful chapter.